In heaven, there are people who take their crowns off and throw them on the floor. That's not a metaphor. Revelation chapter 4. 24 elders, gold crowns on their heads, sitting around the throne of God, and they take them off and cast them down. Which raises a question nobody ever asked growing up. Why do they have crowns at all? Because Scripture names 5 of them, 5 crowns specifically. Who gets each one and what you have to do. So, all 5, and at the end, why the people who earned them can't wait to throw them away. Now let me get something out of the way, because I know somebody's already typing it. This is not a video about earning your way to heaven. You can't. Salvation is a gift. It's not a paycheck, and nothing here changes that. But the same Bible that says salvation is free also says there are rewards, crowns, and Paul talks about them constantly, like a man who knows he's running a race with something waiting at the finish line. Salvation is the gift. The crowns are what happens after. Let's go. 1 Corinthians 9. Paul's writing to Corinth, a city that hosted athletic games. Everybody there understood competition. And he says, every athlete who competes exercises self-control. They do it to receive a corruptible crown. We do it for an incorruptible one. Here's what most people miss. The crown those athletes won was made of leaves, wild celery, laurel, olive branches. You trained for years. You tore your body apart. You won. And they put a plant on your head. In a week, it was brown. In a month, it was dust. That's Paul's entire point. He's saying, you already know how to sacrifice for something temporary. You've done it for a job, for a body, for a goal. You already know exactly what it costs to say no to something you want. So what would it look like to spend that same discipline on something that doesn't rot? The incorruptible crown is for self-control, for the person who says no when nobody would have known they said yes. That's a lonely kind of obedience. Scripture says it isn't invisible. James 1:12. Blessed is the man that endureth temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life. Endures. That's the whole requirement. Not conquered, not undefeated, not never struggled. Endured. And Jesus says the same thing in Revelation to the church at Smyrna. And Smyrna matters. That church was poor, persecuted. Some of them were about to be arrested. This wasn't a metaphor for them. And Jesus doesn't tell them it's going to stop. He doesn't promise relief next week. He says, be faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. So think about the thing you're carrying right now, the thing nobody knows about, the thing you've prayed about more times than you can count, the thing that is still there. Scripture is telling you that's not evidence God forgot you. There's a crown attached to it. You're not being punished for still being in it. You're being crowned for not letting go. 2 Timothy 4. And you have to understand when Paul writes this. He's in prison. He's at the end. He knows he isn't getting out. This is essentially the last thing he ever writes. I have fought a good fight. I have finished my course. I have kept the faith. Henceforth there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness. And then, this is the part people skip. He says it isn't just for him. It's for all them also that love his appearing. Love his appearing, meaning people who actually want Jesus to come back. That sounds obvious until you sit with it, because a lot of us say we want him to return, but we've got plans, things we want to do first, a version of our life we'd like to finish before eternity shows up. The crown of righteousness is for the person who genuinely longs for him, who would be glad if it happened today. Be honest with yourself about which one you are. That's not a guilt trip. That's a diagnostic. 1 Thessalonians 2. Paul asks a question and then answers it himself. What is our hope or joy or crown of rejoicing? Is it not you? Every crown we've talked about so far is something you receive. This one is somebody you brought with you. And I want to be careful here because soul winning sounds like something that requires a stage and a microphone. It doesn't. It's the person who invited someone to church one time, the parent who prayed over a kid who wasn't listening yet, the friend who kept showing up when it would have been easier not to, the coworker who said one true thing at the right moment and never found out what it did. Paul had watched people walk away from him. He'd been run out of cities. And when he sits down to name what he's proudest of at the end of his life, he doesn't name a church he planted. He doesn't name a letter he wrote. He names people. You might not know your crown's name yet. You might not meet them until you're both standing there. But somebody is going to be in eternity because of something you did. And Paul is saying that person is the crown. 1 Peter 5. Peter's writing to elders, shepherds. He tells them to feed the flock, not because they have to, not for money, and not by lording it over anybody. And then, when the chief shepherd shall appear, ye shall receive a crown of glory that fadeth not away. Now you might hear elders and think this one isn't for you, but look at what the job actually is. Feeding people, caring for people who can't yet care for themselves, doing it without being forced and without being paid. That's a parent. That's a small group leader. That's whoever runs the kids ministry nobody thanks. That's the person discipling somebody right now with no title and no platform. And notice who's writing it. Peter, the man Jesus restored on a beach by telling him 3 times, "Feed my sheep." He's not teaching a concept. He's passing on the assignment he was given. If anyone's faith is your responsibility, this one has your name on it. So, back to where we started. Revelation 4. John sees the throne room, 24 elders, gold crowns on their heads, and then they do something with them. They cast their crowns before the throne. They take them off, and they throw them down. Sit with that for a second. Everything they endured, everything they gave up, every quiet obedience nobody saw, all of it becomes a crown. And the very first thing they do with it is give it away. Because that's what it was always for. You're not being given a crown so you have something to wear. You're being given a crown so you have something to lay down. Every hard thing you're walking through right now, everything you're enduring, everyone you're carrying, one day it becomes something in your hands, and you get to put it at His feet and say, "This is yours. It always was." That's the reward, not the gold, the moment you get to give it back. 5 crowns: incorruptible, life, righteousness, rejoicing, glory. If this gave you something today, there's more like it here every week. Still waters. Go be faithful.